Top of the top, y'all, it's your boy Show tapping in today. And on this video, we're just gonna talk about how to properly utilize cold callers in your wholesaling business. All right. This is a very hot topic. A lot of people who get started into wholesaling real estate, the first thing they learn is that they have to talk to people in order to get these deals. And a lot of people try to run away from that or stray away from that by figuring out that they can hire cold callers in other foreign countries for $4 an hour, $5, $6 an hour, which you can. And it is definitely one of the first tasks that you want to pass off when you're growing your wholesaling business. But there's a couple things you need to know before you hire somebody and delegate that task. All right. And that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. So sit back and tap in. Let's get it. All right, guys. So number one, and this is very crucial, you cannot teach what you have not learned. All right. Now I know how nervous it can make people. It can give people anxiety, get under your skin, give you the jitters, give you the cold sweats, whatever. When you just think about picking up the phone and cold calling strangers to ask them if they want to sell their property. So a lot of people try to outsource this too early, which is exactly what me and my business partner did. And it came back and bit us in the ass. And I'm going to tell you guys how, right? So we did start off cold calling, making our own calls. But what we seen was when we got a cold caller in, we didn't have a process for them. They were just kind of doing whatever they were doing with their 8 hours a day that we were paying them for. Now, yes, it was only $5 an hour, but when you add up week after week, month after month, those numbers are going to add up, especially if you're not having any income from deals that you're closing. All right. That money will add up quick, guys. So you want to hire somebody and put them into a process that has already been mapped out for them so they know exactly what to do. That way you can maximize your investment, okay? So because when you hire these people for these low dollar an hour tasks, they generally have to be managed very tightly, guys. And what I mean by that is you have to tell them every day what they need to do, sometimes multiple times an hour, just to keep them on track. And you have to continue reiterating exactly what it is that you want them to do and what they need to be doing step by step. Sometimes it can be like hiring a kid because, like I said, these are low level jobs, low level tasks. And so these people are not going to be, college graduates, people who just have it all figured out, super organized and things like that. These are low entry level positions, and that's the type of work we're hiring, and so you just have to know that when you go to hire a cold caller, there will be a lot of management on your part to make that make sense and make that work for your business. Okay. So you want to know exactly what the details and the inner workings are of cold calling. And so I always suggest guys do at least 500 hours of cold calling on your own, okay? That way you can get used to the responses people make, used to the comments people make, the questions people ask, and you can kind of, narrow down that script and just get it to where it's perfected. So now you can pass this on to someone because you know what works. You know how to answer certain rebuttals. You know how to be quiet and listen. You know when to provide feedback. You know exactly how to get to your qualifying questions that you need to ask. You know the different type of sellers that you're going to deal with. Are they green? So are they really passive and open? Are they red? Are they super aggressive? You kind of need to know exactly the type of people you're going to encounter and how to deal with those people. And you learn that. Of course, you can learn it through YouTube and through my course as well, but you want to get that hands-on experience. So if your cold caller comes back and says, oh, well, this happened today, or if you're listening to their calls and you see how they're navigating those calls, you want to be able to coach them up and give them feedback on what they're doing wrong and how they can correct that moving forward, because that is going to be a consistent job of yours, coaching those cold callers day after day, week after week, so they can produce for you and make a return on that investment you're making by paying them to do that job, okay? So again, guys, you cannot teach what you have not learned by being hands-on in the field. So you need at least 500 hours of cold calling yourself. I mean, getting on the phone, just beating those dialers, just beating that phone until you produce a lead, you know, and then you know what type of KPIs you can set, how many calls they should be making a day, how many conversations they should be expecting to make a day, you know, how many leads you should be expecting them to pass down to you week by week based on the numbers you did yourself, guys. All right. So you cannot teach what you have not learned. Get in there and cold call yourself before you hire and give that task to somebody else, guys. All right. So now that you have that experience, you got your 500 hours, you getting some traction, and now you need to pass this low level task on to someone else so you can focus on income producing tasks like making offers, running comps, going on property appointments and things like that. Perfect. All right. So you need to know exactly what the job description of your cold caller is. All right. All they need to do is pass through leads to you. Okay. They're not running numbers. They're not getting really analytical. All right. They're not trying to figure out, is this a deal or is this not a deal for you? That is your job. The cold caller's job is simply to get people to raise their hand, say, yes, me, I want to sell. Okay. And then you do the rest from there after they pass you on that information. All right. So they just need to be calling, going through a simple script, seeing if the people on the other side of that phone are even interested in selling their property. And then they can get a few pieces of qualifying information, like obviously the property address, why the person may be interested in selling, if they have a price in mind, are they the only decision maker, or will there be other people involved in that conversation? So that way you have talking points to go off of when you follow up with this lead. They want to try to pull out any property conditions that the seller may offer up, as far as, you know, any recent upgrades, things like that. Is the roof falling in? Have you noticed foundation damage? I mean, it's, you know, just simple questions that they want to ask to qualify, to make sure, okay, this is even a lead in the first place. And as soon as they get that person to raise their hand and answer a few qualifying questions, then they just pass that off to you automatically. And then you take it from there as far as running the numbers, analyzing the deal, calling back to make an offer, reiterating those qualifying questions, or re-qualifying after your cold caller has pre-qualified. You want to re-qualify every time. Make sure that the notes that they have left for you are, you know, consistent with the conversation that they had. You can do that by listening to the conversation that they had. And you do things like that by having systems like CallRail, where you can listen to recorded calls. And definitely one more thing I cannot leave out: when you get a cold caller, even when you're doing this yourself, you want to use a power line dialer, okay? Something like Mojo dials, okay? And so you want to look into Mojo, or there are other power line dialers, but we use Mojo, so I always suggest Mojo, all right, to get started. And this just helps you dial 4 to 5 people, or 4 to 5 phone numbers at once, instead of calling that number one by one, hand dialing. You put it into a system, put a list into a system, hit call, and they just call through all those numbers. If someone picks up, then it stops. You can talk to that person, have a conversation, make notes, but you're not just hanging up, dialing the number, hanging up, dialing the number, because you'll be surprised how much time that takes. All right. You can do a lot more by having a dialing system, a power dialing system that can call several numbers at once, because what you'll see when you're cold calling is a lot of those numbers are wrong. You're going to get a lot of voicemails. You're going to get a lot of disconnected numbers. And you want to blow past all of that and save a lot of time by having a power dialing system in place and not hand dialing. Okay, guys, that is super crucial. So like I said before, check out Mojo Dialer for that, or you can just check out power dialers or something like that in Google, and I'm sure it'll populate a lot more that have come to surface since we first started the business. All right, but you want to have a power line dialer and not a single dialer when you're doing this, guys. All right. In addition to the power line dialer, because when you're dialing all those numbers at once and have so many people to reach out to, you also by this time want to have a budget for a list, for your marketing list. Who are you calling? Are you calling vacant lots? Are you calling houses? What zip code are you calling in? What state are you calling in? You want to know these things and be able to pull lists. Are you pulling absentee owner lists? Are you pulling probate lists? Are you pulling unknown equity? Are you pulling people who have 50% or more of equity in their homes? Who are you calling? You know, who is your target seller? You know, and you have to have a budget for that list so you can pull those lists, get them skip trace and put them into a dialing system for those cold callers to call. But if you're hiring someone whose job for 4 to 8 hours a day is just to call people, you have to have a lot of data and a lot of people for them to call, all right? And that goes back into the process. So having your list, your marketing list that you're reaching out to, skip tracing those lists. How many times are you going to redial through that list? We usually do 3 times before we kind of dead that, and then, put it to the side for the future when we might redial on it again. All right. But you want to call through that list at least 3 times. If you have a list of 1,000 to 5,000 people, just imagine how long it's going to take for you to call through that list 3 times when some of those people might have 2 numbers associated with the lead. Some might have 10 phone numbers associated, all right? That is a lot of hand dialing, guys. So you definitely want to have a dialing system, and you want to have a process as to how often and how many times you're going to run through this list before you renew that list and bring in new, fresh leads for your cold caller to call, all right? It's all in the process, guys, and these are tools that you're going to need to succeed. Lastly, I just kind of give a few tips on where you can find good cold callers. So you can find cold callers on websites like Upwork.com. You can even find them on Craigslist. You can find them on Wise Hire, that's WIZE hire.com. Or there are companies like Call Magicians who actually manage your cold callers. They can even help supply a list. So all you have to do is supply a list, and they manage these people to make sure they're calling when they're supposed to. They go through the script. Most of the time they train these cold callers specifically for real estate wholesalers. So there are lots of options when it comes to hiring cold callers, guys. And like I said, these are jobs that can range between $4 to $6, $7 an hour for people to call and patch through these leads to you that can turn into $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 deals, all right? So it is certainly a low wage task, and one of the first tasks that you want to assign to someone else when you're growing and scaling in your wholesaling business, but you have to learn the part before you can give it to someone else, all right? So that way you can correctly manage that person in that position, all right? And that's going to be very key when dealing with cold callers, because like I said, these people have to constantly be coached in that field, all right? Whereas we might think it's very simple, I urge you guys to understand you're going to have to manage and coach these people. So make sure you have the time capacity to do that as well. Make sure you have the skill set to manage and lead as well, even for those low level positions, because if you're going to be successful and they're going to be successful, it's going to take a lot of learning, a lot of leading, and a lot of coaching, guys. All right. So there you have it. I definitely advise you guys to utilize cold callers, but you want to do it in a correct way, or else you're just throwing away money. Until the next time, tap in.